Alex had never imagined that one day he would find himself walking into a school on a faraway planet, surrounded by alien species he had only heard about in stories. As a young boy from Earth, it was strange and exciting to think about. As he stood at the entrance of the alien school, his nerves began to take over. He straightened his clothes, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. The school's massive hallway stretched in all directions, filled with beings of all shapes and sizes. Alex's eyes widened in amazement as he passed students who looked nothing like the people from his world. Some had blue skin, others green, and some were even taller than he was. The only thing they all had in common was the look of curiosity in their eyes as they observed the strange human who was now walking among them. His first day was already overwhelming, but the hardest part was yet to come. He had been placed in a class with alien girls. These girls weren't like anything Alex had ever seen before. They had different features: scales, tentacles, wings, or fur. Each of them was as unique as the planet they came from. Alex felt very small and out of place compared to them. When Alex entered the classroom, the noise of students talking faded. Every pair of alien eyes turned to look at him. It was like the whole room was holding its breath. Alex felt a lump in his throat. His cheeks turned red, but he couldn't look away from the group of girls staring at him, the teacher. A tall being with 4 arms and shimmering purple skin smiled warmly at him. "Welcome, Alex. You're the first human to join this class. We are excited to have you." The alien girls didn't share the teacher's enthusiasm. Some of them whispered to each other, and others simply stared. A few of them raised an eyebrow or crossed their arms, obviously unsure about the idea of a human boy being in their class. "Don't worry," the teacher said kindly. "They'll get used to you." Alex nodded nervously and took a seat in. In the middle of the room, he could feel the eyes of the girls on him, and he wished he could disappear. Some of the girls had already started talking again, but their words were in a language Alex didn't understand. He recognized a few sounds from Earth, but most of it was strange and foreign to him. He noticed a girl sitting in the front row. She had soft green skin and bright purple eyes. Her long silver hair flowed like a river behind her. She was staring at him with great curiosity, but not in a mean way. Alex smiled shyly at her, hoping she would say something, but she only looked away and focused on her notebook. Behind him, a pair of girls were whispering. They were both wearing long robes, one red and one blue. Alex caught a few words, but they were too soft for him to understand. Shifted in his seat, feeling even more out of place. As the teacher began the lesson, Alex tried to pay attention, but his mind was racing. The words the teacher spoke were so different from what Alex was used to. The alien language sounded melodic, but the symbols on the board made no sense to him. Couldn't even follow along with the first few questions. The girls in the class began to work in small groups. Alex was hoping someone would invite him to join them, but the girls kept their distance. They exchanged glances but didn't speak to him. He noticed one girl, Lyra, glancing at him with a mix of curiosity and doubt, and she made no effort to include him. A few minutes passed, and the silence between Alex and the rest of the class felt like a wall. He didn't know what to do or how to break it. The alien girls weren't being rude, but they were so different from him that it felt impossible to connect with them. They seemed to understand each other perfectly, while Alex felt like an outsider. In every way, just when Alex thought the awkwardness would last forever, the teacher spoke again. "Alex, would you like to introduce yourself to the class?" Alex froze for a moment. He wasn't sure what to say. He had practiced this speech in his head, but now in front of everyone, his words didn't seem right. He cleared his throat and stood up slowly, his heart racing. "I'm Alex," he said, his voice shaky. "I come from Earth. It's a planet full of humans." He didn't know what else to say. There was so much he wanted to explain, but how could he possibly describe Earth to these alien girls? The class remained silent as Alex sat down again. He felt a bit embarrassed. He wasn't sure if anyone had understood him or if they had even cared. He glanced up at the girl with the silver hair again. This time she was looking at him with a soft expression. Alex smiled, but she quickly looked away. As the lesson continued, Alex focused on his notes, but his thoughts kept drifting. He wasn't just in a new school. He was in a completely new world. He didn't know how to talk to the girls, how to fit in. The idea of being accepted seemed impossible, but he couldn't give up. After all, this was a chance of a lifetime at the end of the lesson. The bell rang, signaling the end of the school day. The alien girls began to pack their things, some of them still casting curious glances at Alex. He tried to leave the room quietly, but as he reached the door, the girl with the purple eyes stopped him. "Alex, right?" she asked, her voice soft but clear. "Yeah, that's me," Alex replied, a little surprised. "I'm Xana," she said with a smile. "I'll try to help you tomorrow if you need it." Alex smiled back. "Thanks, Xana. I really appreciate it." Xana nodded before walking away, leaving Alex standing there, feeling a little less alone. Maybe, just maybe, this school wasn't as impossible as it seemed. The next morning, Alex woke up early, feeling both nervous and excited. His second day at the alien school was about to begin, and he wasn't sure what to expect. Yesterday had been overwhelming. He'd struggled to understand the lessons, and the alien girls seemed so different from him. Despite that, he was determined to make today better. He put on his uniform, which was much like a normal school uniform but with small changes to fit the strange environment. The sleeves were a little longer, and the collar was a bit wider. He had to admit, it felt kind of cool to be wearing something so unusual. As Alex walked to school, he kept reminding himself that he was here for a reason. The Galactic Council believed that humans and aliens could learn from each other. Maybe, just maybe, he could find a way to fit in. But as soon as he entered the school, the same feeling from yesterday rushed back. The hallway was filled with alien students, all chatting with their friends in their native languages. And Alex felt like he was in the middle of a strange world. When he finally reached his classroom, he hesitated before opening the door. Would the girls be any different today? Would they treat him like an outsider again? He took a deep breath and walked in. The moment he stepped inside, the room went quiet. The alien girls, who had been chatting excitedly before, stopped and looked at him. It was as if they were waiting for him to do something. Alex could feel the weight of their gazes on him, but he kept his head up and walked to his seat. The teacher, tall alien with 4 arms, smiled at him again. "Good morning, Alex. I hope you're ready to learn with us today." "Good morning," Alex said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. He sat down and pulled out his notebook, glancing around the room. Xana, the girl with the green skin and purple eyes, smiled at him from the front row. Alex gave her a small wave, and she waved back. It was a small gesture, but it made him feel a little better. He wasn't completely alone here. The teacher began the lesson, but Alex quickly realized that things were going to be even harder today. The lesson was about advanced science, something Alex had never studied before. The aliens in the class seemed to understand everything immediately, discussing the topic with ease. But Alex, on the other hand, struggled to keep up. The words on the board looked like gibberish to him, and he couldn't make sense of any of the alien symbols. One of the girls, Lyra, leaned over to whisper something to her friend. Alex caught a few words. "He's not going to get it. Humans don't even understand their own technology," she muttered. The words stung, but Alex tried to ignore them. He wasn't there to prove anything to her. He was there to learn and hopefully make some friends. During the class, the teacher asked them to break into groups and work on a project. Alex was assigned to work with Xana, Lyra, and 2 other alien girls, who both had blue skin and bright yellow eyes. At him, waiting for him to say something, but Alex just felt like he was in over his head. Xana was the first to speak. "Alex, we need your help with this problem. It's about Earth's plants, right? You're from Earth, so you might know something we don't." Alex blinked, surprised that Xana was talking to him. "Sure," he said, feeling a little relieved. He didn't know much about alien plants, but he did know about Earth's plants. He began to explain how different species of plants could be used for medicine, food, and even energy. His words were slow at first, but Xana seemed interested, nodding as he spoke. Lyra, who had been quiet until now, interrupted. "Are you sure humans understand that? I mean, you're so ... behind on everything." Alex felt his face burn with embarrassment. He wasn't sure how to respond to Lyra's comment. She had been rude to him before, and now she was questioning his knowledge in front of the whole group. Xana quickly stepped in. "It's enough, Lyra. Alex knows more than you think." Lyra rolled her eyes, but didn't say anything more. The other girls, though quiet, seemed to be paying attention. Alex focused on explaining the plant species he knew best, doing his best to keep his voice steady. As the discussion went on, he began to feel like maybe he could contribute something after all. The project continued, and Alex worked hard. The alien girls still looked at him like he was different, but Zaina seemed to genuinely want to include him. She helped him with some of the more difficult terms, and they started to make progress. Little by little, the group seemed to soften. They still weren't overly friendly. They were at least willing to work with him at one point. The teacher walked around the class, checking on everyone's progress. When she reached Alex's group, she smiled. "Good work, Alex. I see that you're making an effort to learn with your classmates. That's the spirit of unity we want in this school." Alex smiled back, feeling proud of himself. He hadn't expected to get a compliment, especially not from the teacher. He had always been a good student back on Earth, but this was a whole new level. It wasn't easy, but he was learning, and that was enough for him. When the class ended, the girls quickly packed up their things and headed out the door. Alex felt a sense of relief wash over him. The first day had been hard, but maybe it wasn't as bad as he had thought. He hadn't been completely rejected. He had made progress, even if it was small. As he walked to the door, Zaina stopped him again. "You did good today, Alex," she said with a smile. "I think we can work well together. Don't worry about Lyra. She's not always the friendliest." Alex nodded, grateful for her support. "Thanks, Zaina. I'm glad we're working together." "Me too," she said. "I'll see you tomorrow." "Definitely," Alex replied, feeling a little more confident than he had when he first walked in. The days passed, and Alex found himself slowly getting used to the strange new world around him. School was still difficult, but it wasn't as overwhelming as it had been on his first day. He had started to understand more of the lessons, and while he still didn't know much about alien technology or history, he was learning little by little. The alien girls were beginning to treat him with more respect, even if some of them still thought of him as different. One afternoon, the teacher announced a new project. "Today we're going to focus on creativity," she said with a smile. "You will be assigned to create something that represents your home world. You can use anything you like, art, music, or even something technological. The goal is to show what makes your world unique." Alex's heart raced. He wasn't sure what he could create. The other students, especially the girls in his group, seemed to have so many ideas. Zaina, sitting beside him, was already scribbling in her notebook, planning out her project. She had always been kind to him, but he still felt unsure about his place in the class. Lyra, however, was not as friendly. "What are you going to do, Alex? Draw a picture of your boring planet?" she asked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Alex looked down at his notebook, trying to come up with something. He thought about Earth, his home, and how different it was from this alien world. He had always loved drawing, but he didn't think his art could impress anyone here. Still, he knew he had to try. Zaina, noticing Alex's hesitation, leaned over and whispered, "Don't listen to Lyra. You're here because you have something to offer. Just show them what Earth is about." Alex nodded, feeling a little better. He decided that he would try to represent Earth the best way he knew how through art. He had always loved drawing nature, the forests, the mountains, the oceans. Earth was full of beauty, and maybe that's what he needed to show the class. Over the next few days, Alex worked hard on his project. He spent his free time sketching pictures of Earth's landscapes, trying to capture the feeling of the planet he loved. He drew the rolling hills covered in green grass, golden sunsets over the ocean, and the towering trees that stretched toward the sky. It was simple, but it felt like home. When it was time to present their projects, Alex felt nervous again. He had never shown his art to anyone before, and now he was about to present it to a class of alien girls who were so much more advanced than he was. But as he stood up to show his drawings, something unexpected happened. Zaina stood up with him, smiling. "I'll present with Alex," she said, her voice confident. "He's worked hard on this, and I think you'll all be surprised." The class looked at them in silence, curious about what Alex had to offer. Zaina stood beside Alex as he laid out his drawings on the table. "These are pictures of Earth's nature," Alex began, trying to steady his voice. "I wanted to show what makes my planet special." It's not as advanced as this place, but it's full of life and beauty. He pointed to the first drawing, a forest with tall trees and a river running through it. This is one of the forests on Earth, he explained. It's full of animals and plants that work together to survive. There's a lot of peace in nature. The girls in the class were quiet at first, but then Zana spoke up. You can feel the calm in his drawings. It's different from the chaos we experience in space. Alex smiled at her support and moved to the next drawing. It showed a vast ocean with dolphins leaping out of the water. This is the ocean, Alex said. It covers most of Earth, and it's home to so many creatures. It's where we get food, and it's also a place where we can just relax. As he talked, the girls started to gather around, looking at the drawings with more interest. Who had been so dismissive before, stepped closer, her arms crossed. Alex wasn't sure if she was making fun of him, but then something surprising happened. Lyra uncrossed her arms and looked at the final picture, a sunset over the ocean with colors of orange and pink filling the sky. This is actually beautiful, Lyra said quietly. I didn't expect it. Alex blinked in surprise. He hadn't expected any of the girls to admit they liked his work, especially not Lyra, who had been so rude to him. But there she was, standing in front of his drawing, her expression thoughtful. Alex's world isn't as advanced as ours, Zana said, but it has its own beauty. Maybe we've been too quick to judge. The other girls nodded in agreement. Even though they were from different planets and cultures, they could see the value in what Alex had shared. For the first time, Alex didn't feel like an outsider. The alien girls were starting to understand him in a way he hadn't thought possible. After the presentations, the teacher smiled at Alex. Well done, Alex. You've shown us something new. Your creativity is a reminder that there's more to knowledge than just technology. Alex sat back down, feeling a sense of pride. He had done it. He had shared a piece of his world with them, and it had made an impact. Even Lyra, who had doubted him from the start, seemed to have softened a little. Zaina looked at Alex with a smile. See, I told you your art was special. Alex smiled back. Thanks for believing in me. For the first time since arriving at the school, Alex felt like he truly belonged. The alien girls had seen his talent, and they respected it. He had more to offer than just his knowledge of Earth's plants. He had creativity, a way of seeing the world that was different from theirs, and it was something they valued. Maybe, just maybe, this school wouldn't be so difficult after all. The days that followed the project were easier for Alex. He had gained some respect from the alien girls, especially after his art presentation. It was still hard to follow the advanced lessons, but Xana and a few others had started to help him more. He was learning, and that gave him hope. One afternoon, after a long and difficult class, the bell rang to signal the end of the school day. As the other students filed out, Alex stood up, packing his things slowly. He wasn't in a hurry to go back to his dorm. There was something about being at the school that made him feel a little less lonely. He had started to form connections, even if they were small. Zana, who had been sitting next to him during class, walked over as the room began to empty. She smiled at him, her purple eyes bright. Hey, Alex, she said. I was thinking, maybe we could grab something to eat together. Cafeteria food here is strange, but it's better than being alone, don't you think? Alex smiled, grateful for the invitation. That sounds good. I'm still not used to the food here. It's so different from Earth. Zana nodded. I can imagine. But it's actually pretty good once you get used to it. Let's go see what's on the menu today. As they walked to the cafeteria together, Alex noticed that it was the first time he had walked with someone other than the other humans he had met before. Zana was different. She was kind and patient with him, and she seemed genuinely interested in learning more about Earth and its people. The cafeteria was filled with alien students from different planets, each with their own strange features and unique clothing. Some of them glanced at Alex as he and Xana walked by, but most of them seemed too busy to pay much attention. It was a relief for Alex. He didn't mind being noticed, but sometimes it felt like too many eyes were on him. They found a table in a quiet corner of the room. Zana picked up 2 trays of food from the counter and set them down. The food looked nothing like what Alex had eaten back home. There were strange, glowing fruits and meats that seemed to shimmer, and the drink was a bright purple liquid that bubbled and sparkled. Alex wasn't sure what to expect, but he took a small bite of the fruit on his tray and was surprised. It tasted sweet, almost like a mixture of apple and pear. The flavors were unlike anything he had tasted before, but it was good. "This is actually pretty good," Alex said, looking up at Xana. "I told you," Xana said with a smile. "It grows on you." They ate in silence for a few moments, each lost in their own thoughts. Alex was thinking about how different his life had become in such a short time. Just a few weeks ago, he had been living on Earth, going to a regular school with regular people. Now here he was, sitting in a cafeteria full of aliens, eating strange food and trying to learn things he never imagined he would have to know. It was overwhelming, but at the same time, it was exciting. Xana seemed to sense that Alex was thinking deeply. "You've been quieter than usual," she said, looking at him with concern. "What's on your mind?" Alex hesitated. He wasn't sure how to explain what he was feeling. It was hard to put into words, but he knew he couldn't keep it to himself forever. "It's just, I don't know if I really belong here," he admitted. "Everything is so different. The lessons are hard, and the girls, well, they've been nice, but I still feel like an outsider sometimes." Xana's expression softened. "I understand," she said quietly. "It's hard to be the only one of your kind in a place like this. I've felt the same way before, even though I'm from a different planet than most of the others here. It's normal to feel out of place at first. But you don't seem to have any trouble fitting in," Alex said, looking at her with a little surprise. "You're always so confident." Xana laughed softly. "Not always. But I've learned that it's okay to be different. Everyone here is different in some way, even the girls in our class. They just hide it better. But deep down, they all want to connect. It's like they don't know how to let others in." Alex thought about that. It made sense, in a way. He had noticed that many of the alien girls seemed to keep to themselves, even though they weren't mean. They just didn't know how to approach someone who was so different from them. Lyra, especially, had been hard to figure out. She was smart and strong, but there was something about her that seemed to push others away. Maybe Xana was right. Maybe they were all just afraid of being too different. "I guess I just wish it was easier to fit in," Alex said, his voice quieter now. "I don't know how to break through." Xana reached across the table and placed a hand on his. "Don't have to change to fit in, Alex. Just be yourself. That's what makes you special. That's what makes you worth getting to know. And the others will see that too. It might take time, but they will." Alex looked at her, surprised by the warmth in her eyes. For the first time, he felt like maybe he wasn't as alone as he had thought. Xana understood him, even though she wasn't human. She was different from him. But somehow that made their connection even stronger. "Thanks, Xana," Alex said, feeling a little lighter. "I needed to hear that," she smiled. "I'm always here if you need to talk, Alex. You're not alone in this." They finished their meal, talking about Earth and the strange things they had learned so far. By the time they left the cafeteria, Alex felt like a small weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time, he felt like he had a friend in this strange new world. As they walked back to their dorms, Alex couldn't help but smile. Maybe things were starting to look up after all. The weeks had flown by, and with each passing day, Alex felt like he was adjusting a little more to life at the school. It wasn't perfect, and there were still moments when he felt out of place, but he had started to make real connections. Xana had become his closest friend, and some of the other girls in the class were beginning to warm up to him. Even Lyra, though still distant, had started to treat him with less judgment. Then, one day the teacher announced something that made Alex's heart race. Today the teacher said, "We will have a school-wide challenge. The goal is to solve a complex problem that will require teamwork. You will work in groups, and each group will need to use the skills they've learned in this class to create a solution. The challenge will test not only your knowledge, but also your ability to work together." Alex's stomach dropped. A school-wide challenge. The idea of working with a group again, especially with the alien girls who were much more advanced than him, made him nervous. What if he let his team down? What if he wasn't smart enough? Zana noticed the worry in his eyes and smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, Alex, she said softly. We're in this together. You'll be fine. But even her kindness didn't completely calm his nerves. The competition was serious. The winner would get recognition, and that alone was enough to make everyone want to do their best. The teams were quickly assigned. Alex was placed in a group with Zana, Lyra, and two other girls, one with yellow skin and glowing purple eyes, named Maya, and another with scales covering her arms, named Kira. They were all from different planets, and each had their own unique abilities and knowledge. Alex, on the other hand, was still learning how to fit in. The challenge itself was a complex puzzle that required knowledge of multiple subjects: technology, biology, and history. It was meant to test how well each group could combine their different strengths. Alex wasn't sure how he could help. He didn't have the technical skills the other girls did, and his knowledge of biology was limited to what he had learned. From his own planet, as soon as the challenge began, the girls in Alex's group dove into the problem. Maya started explaining the technical side, her voice calm and confident. We need to figure out how these two technologies can work together. The problem is how to combine them without causing a system failure. Kira added, It's also about understanding the biological systems involved. We need to know how the plants and animals on the other planet interact with these technologies. Alex felt lost. He understood what they were talking about, but he didn't know how to contribute. He sat there, watching as the girls quickly discussed their ideas, feeling like he didn't belong. Lyra, noticing his silence, glanced at him and raised an eyebrow. Do you even know what we're talking about? She asked, her tone sharp. Alex flinched, but didn't let her words get to him. He was determined not to give up. I'm still learning, he replied quietly. But I'll try to help however I can. Zana, noticing the tension, spoke up. We all bring different strengths to the table. Let's see what Alex can contribute. That simple encouragement from Zana helped. Alex more than he expected. He might not know the technical details, but he did know Earth's plants and animals. That knowledge could still be useful. Slowly, he began to speak up. I think I can help with the biological part, Alex said, surprising himself.
I've
Studied the way plants and animals on Earth work together. Maybe I can offer some ideas on how they might affect the systems you're working with. Maya and Kira turned to him, their expressions curious. Go on, Maya said, clearly open to hearing his thoughts. Alex took a deep breath and began explaining how Earth's ecosystems were all connected. On Earth, we have these systems where different plants and animals rely on each other to survive. For example, plants need insects to pollinate them, and animals depend on plants for food. If we understand how these relationships work, maybe we can figure out a way to apply that to the technology you're using. The girls listened carefully, and Alex felt a surge of confidence as he continued. His ideas weren't as advanced as theirs, but they were based on something he knew well. He talked about the way Earth's ecosystems could work in harmony, and how technology could be used in ways that mimicked nature. As he spoke, he noticed that Lyra wasn't rolling her eyes or making snide comments. She was actually listening. He took that as a small victory. Zana smiled at him. See, you have something valuable to offer, Alex. The group worked for hours, each person contributing their knowledge. It wasn't easy, and there were many moments of frustration as they tried to solve the complex problem. But Alex felt more and more like he was part of the team. His ideas, even though they weren't as technical, helped them make connections that the other girls hadn't thought of. By the time the deadline approached, Alex's group had a solution. It wasn't perfect, but it was creative and practical. They had found a way to combine the technology and biology in a way that worked. Thanks to Alex's understanding of Earth's ecosystems, when the teacher walked around to see each group's progress, she stopped in front of Alex's team. I'm impressed, she said. You've created a solution that's both innovative and practical. You've combined your knowledge well, and that's what this challenge is about. The girls smiled at each other, pleased with their work. Lyra even gave Alex a small nod of approval. It wasn't much, but it was enough for Alex to feel proud. As the results were announced, Alex's team didn't win first place, but they were recognized for their teamwork and creativity. It was a small victory, but it meant the world to Alex. He had faced the challenge, worked with his team, and contributed in ways he hadn't thought possible. Later that evening, as Alex walked back to his dorm with Zana, he felt a sense of accomplishment. "I didn't think I could do it," he admitted. "I thought I would just mess things up." Zaina smiled at him. "You did great, Alex. You have a lot more to offer than you realize." Alex nodded, feeling a little more confident about his place in this strange new world. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as out of place as he had once thought. The school year was halfway over, and Alex couldn't believe how much had changed since he first stepped foot on the alien planet. What had started as an overwhelming experience had slowly turned into something much more manageable. Every day brought new challenges, but Alex was learning, was growing, and most importantly, was connecting with his classmates in ways he never thought possible. His friendship with Zana had grown stronger. They spent more time together outside of class, talking about their different worlds and cultures. Zaina had introduced him to some of the alien food, and while Alex still didn't love everything, he had come to appreciate the flavors. She had even shown him a few simple words in her language, and Alex was slowly picking them up. Lyra, the girl who had once made him feel like an outsider, had become a little more open to him. While she still didn't show much emotion, Alex could tell that she respected him. She didn't look at him with the same judgmental stare anymore. In fact, when they worked together in class, Lyra had started to ask for his opinions on certain things, even if it was only occasionally. It was a small change, but to Alex, it felt huge. One afternoon, after a particularly hard lesson in alien technology, Alex sat down on the steps outside the classroom. His mind felt foggy from all the new information he was trying to process. He wasn't giving up, but sometimes it felt like there was so much to learn and so little time to catch up. Zena, as always, noticed. She walked over to him, her usual bright smile on her face. "You okay, Alex?" she asked, sitting down beside him. Alex looked at her, feeling a bit embarrassed. "Yeah, it's a lot, you know. I'm still not used to all the technology. It's hard to understand how everything works." Zana nodded, understanding. "I get it. Different for all of us. Even I don't always understand everything perfectly. But you're doing great, Alex. You've come a long way since the first day." Alex gave her a small smile. "I never thought I would make it this far. Didn't think I could fit in here." "You already have," Zana said confidently. "You've made real connections with the other girls. They respect you, even if they don't always show it. And they've seen how much you've grown." Alex thought about that. It was true. He had made progress, even if it didn't always feel that way. It had come from Earth, a place completely unknown to the aliens here, and now he was part of a community, even if it was still a little strange. As they sat there, a few of the other girls walked by. Lyra, to Alex's surprise, stopped and looked at him. There was no sarcasm in her eyes this time, no judgment, just something closer to respect. "You did well on the last assignment," Lyra said, her voice softer than usual. "Didn't think you could keep up, but you did." I wasn't expecting that." Alex blinked, a little stunned. Lyra had never spoken to him like that before. "Thanks," he said, trying not to sound too surprised. "I'm just trying my best." Lyra nodded, a small smile on her face, before walking away with the others. Alex watched her go, his mind still processing what had just happened. It wasn't a huge moment, but it was a step forward. A real one. Later that evening, as Alex walked back to his dorm, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. He had worked hard to prove himself, not just to the teacher or the other girls, but to himself. He had come to this school as an outsider, unsure of his place in the galaxy. But now, he was beginning to understand that he had a lot to offer. His experiences, his ideas, and even his failures had made him who he was, and he was learning too. Appreciate that. When he arrived at his dorm, he found a message waiting for him on his communicator. It was from the teacher, Alex, the message began. "I've been watching your progress, and I want to let you know that I'm impressed. Your dedication, your willingness to learn, and your ability to adapt are qualities that will serve you well in the future. Keep up the good work." Alex couldn't help but grin as he read the message. He had always worked hard to be a good student back on Earth, but this felt different. It felt like he was learning something more important than just facts and lessons. He was learning how to navigate a new world, how to be part of something bigger than himself. The next day, as the class gathered for another lesson, Alex noticed that the other girls were looking at him differently. Some of them were even talking to him more than they had before. Xana was the first to approach him. "You've really come a long way, Alex," she said, her voice full of warmth. "Everyone is starting to see what we see. You're more than just a human. You're someone who has something valuable to offer." Alex felt his heart swell with pride. "Thanks, Xana. I couldn't have done it without your help." The other girls nodded in agreement, and for the first time, Alex truly felt like he belonged. He wasn't just the human who had been thrown into an alien school as part of the group. He had earned his place. As the lessons continued, Alex found himself more engaged than ever. He still had a lot to learn, but now he felt like he was learning alongside the others. They weren't just alien girls and a human boy anymore. They were a team, a group of students working together, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. And Alex, the boy who had once felt like he didn't belong, become a part of it all. The journey wasn't over, and Alex knew there would be more challenges ahead. But for the first time since he arrived, he felt ready to face whatever came his way.